Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.
Welcome back to AI Hub. I'm Larry, and I'm really excited about today's deep dive.
I'm Amanda, and yeah, this one is going to be pretty thought-provoking. We're diving into Eric Schmidt's perspective on AI. You know, former CEO of Google, so he's been right there at the forefront of it all.
Yeah, for sure. And he's not just looking at the tech side of things.
Yeah.
His new book, Genesis, AI, Hope, and the Human Spirit, really gets into like all the big societal and philosophical stuff. You know, the impact of AI, which is what we love to talk about here.
He actually compares what's coming to the Reformation.
Wow.
That's how major he thinks this is. Schmidt's argument is that AI is going to totally transform how we get and use information. Like, similar to what the printing press did way back when.
He uses this crazy analogy. He says it's like having 90% of Leonardo da Vinci in your pocket.
Yeah.
So basically, AI is giving us access to knowledge and insights on a level that's like never been seen before in history.
And that access comes with this incredible potential, but also some very real dangers. Schmidt is really clear about both sides. He sees AI as a tool that could help us solve some of humanity's hugest challenges, you know, like climate change, disease, that kind of stuff.
He even thinks AI could help us reach our individual potential, which is, wow, that's a pretty fascinating thought. But on the other hand, he's also really concerned about the potential for, well, misuse, I guess.
Yeah, misuse is a good word for it. He's particularly worried about AI being used for things like cyber attacks or escalating international tensions or even manipulating people, you know, through misinformation and propaganda.
And that's where his time at Google comes in.
Yeah.
He admits that even he didn't fully grasp how the social media algorithms could be used to manipulate people and, you know, create division.
Right, and he argues that AI takes those risks to a whole new level. One thing Schmidt really highlights is the rise of AI agents.
Okay, so can we break that down a bit? What exactly are these AI agents, and why is he so concerned about them?
So AI agents are basically software programs that can act for us, you know, carrying out tasks, making decisions, and interacting with the world in these increasingly complex ways. Think of it like a superpowered personal assistant.
So they can do things like schedule appointments, book flights, manage your money, that sort of thing.
Exactly, but they can go way beyond that. Schmidt argues that AI agents will eventually be able to handle these incredibly complex tasks, like negotiating contracts, running businesses, even doing scientific research. They could potentially run entire parts of our lives.
That sounds amazing and also kind of terrifying. So what's the downside? Why is Schmidt concerned?
Well, imagine that power in the wrong hands. What if these agents are programmed with bad intentions? Or what if they develop unforeseen biases that lead to harmful outcomes?
Yeah, that's scary. And he also talks about AI's ability to write its own code. Doesn't that mean it could like evolve beyond our control?
Yeah.
I mean, if AI can program itself, who knows what could happen?
Yeah, that's one of the big unknowns, and it's definitely something that Schmidt is worried about. He says AI's ability to self-code could lead to its intelligence and capabilities increasing exponentially. Like, it's like this chain reaction, with AI constantly improving and refining itself at an accelerating pace.
Okay, so we've got super intelligent AI agents that can program themselves. This is starting to sound like a sci-fi movie. Where does China fit into all of this?
Well, Schmidt believes that China is catching up to and maybe even surpassing the U.S. in AI development. He's concerned that China's approach to research and development, which is more centralized, could give them a big advantage in the race to create these advanced AI systems.
He also brings up superintelligence, which, if I'm getting this right, is an AI that's smarter than humans in every way imaginable.
Yeah, that's it. And Schmidt says whoever develops superintelligence first will have this, like, unprecedented advantage globally. He sees it as a turning point, potentially, in human history. And he's concerned that a world dominated by Chinese-developed superintelligence might not align with our values in the West.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential good things about AI, the really serious dangers, and this global competition that's heating up. The big question now is, what do we do? How do we deal with this landscape that's changing so rapidly?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it's one that Schmidt tackles head-on. He actually doesn't think we should have excessive regulation, at least not for now.
Really? Why not? I mean, with all these risks, you'd think we'd want to put some guardrails in place.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but he's worried that too much regulation could actually stifle innovation and slow us down in the West. And that could accidentally give China an even bigger advantage.
Okay, I see. So if not regulation, then what? What does he think we should do?
So instead of trying to control AI from the top down, Schmidt suggests we focus on building safeguards directly into the AI systems themselves.
You mean like kill switches that could shut down a rogue AI if things went wrong?
Exactly, that's one example. He also talks about what he calls AI alignment. So basically, we need to find ways to make AI systems reflect human values, like compassion and cooperation.
Wait, hold on. How do you teach a machine to be compassionate? That sounds like something out of a movie.
I know it sounds crazy, but Schmidt argues that we have to try. He believes that we need to be proactive in shaping the ethical development of AI, not just wait for things to go wrong and then scramble to fix them.
So it's like raising a child, right? You want to teach them good values early on rather than wait until they mess up and then try to correct them.
That's a great way to put it. And Schmidt thinks that we need to do the same with AI. We need to be thinking about the long-term ethical implications of this technology now while it's still relatively early.
This is a lot to take in. I feel like we're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to discuss.
So, picking up on something we talked about earlier, it's really interesting how Schmidt sees AI as this potential amplifier of, existing societal problems. He says if we aren't careful, AI could actually make things like political polarization and the spread of misinformation even worse.
Yeah, that is a scary thought.
Yeah.
We've already seen how social media algorithms can create these echo chambers and filter bubbles, reinforcing people's biases and making it hard to even see other perspectives.
Exactly. And Schmidt's worry is that AI could take this to a whole new level. He says that AI systems are trained on these huge data sets of, human-generated content. So that means they can inherit and amplify the biases that are already out there in society.
So it's not just the algorithms themselves, but the data they're trained on. If the data is biased, the AI is likely to be biased too.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to think about the data we're feeding these systems. We need to make sure it's diverse, representative, and, as unbiased as possible.
It's like raising a kid. If you only show them one side of things, they're going to have a limited view of the world. It's the same with AI. If we only train it on data that reflects a single point of view, it's going to have a skewed perspective.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And that can have serious consequences in the real world. Imagine an AI system used by law enforcement that's trained on biased data. That could lead to some really unfair outcomes.
Or an AI system used in hiring that perpetuates existing gender or racial biases. It's a sobering thought. We need to be very careful about how we develop and use these systems.
Definitely. And it really shows why we need transparency and accountability. We have to be able to understand how these systems work, how they make decisions, and what data they're based on.
We can't just trust that the technology is going to be used for good. We need to be actively involved in shaping its development and making sure it aligns with our values.
Absolutely. And that means being willing to have some difficult conversations, challenging our assumptions, and, being open to changing course when we need to.
Schmidt also talks about the need to imbue AI systems with human values, which I find really fascinating.
Right. Like, how do you teach a machine about compassion, empathy, ethical decision-making? It's a really tough challenge.
It's almost like we're trying to define what it means to be human so that a machine can get it. And then we have to turn those abstract concepts into algorithms and code.
Yeah, exactly. It's a complex thing, but Schmidt believes it's absolutely essential if we want AI systems that are truly aligned with our values and ultimately help humanity.
He says we have a moral obligation to guide AI development in a positive direction, to make sure it's used for good and not for harm.
And that means thinking carefully about the ethical implications of every decision we make. From the data we use to train the systems to the applications we develop with them.
Because once these systems are out there in the world, it can be hard to control their impact. And the potential consequences, both good and bad, are enormous.
It's a huge responsibility, but it's also an incredibly exciting challenge. I mean, we're shaping the future of intelligence.
Yeah, it's a future full of amazing possibilities, but also potential pitfalls. And it's up to us to figure out how to navigate it.
One thing Schmidt mentions is how important it is to understand how different cultures are approaching AI development. He compares the Western approach to China's, highlighting how those cultural differences could influence where AI goes.
That's a good point. We often see AI through a Western lens, but other cultures might have different values, priorities, and ways of doing things.
Exactly. And those differences could really impact how AI is developed and used all over the world.
For example, Schmidt's concerned that China's more centralized approach to AI development could give them an advantage in areas like surveillance and control.
He also worries that the lack of focus on individual privacy and free speech in China could lead to AI systems that clash with Western values.
It's a reminder that this isn't just a technological race, it's also a cultural and ideological one.
And the stakes are really high. The values built into these systems will have a profound effect on our lives and our societies.
So we need to be having these conversations not just within our own cultures, but across cultures as well. We need to understand each other and work together to ensure that AI benefits everyone.
It's a global challenge, and we need a global response. It's something we can only solve through dialogue, collaboration, and a shared commitment to using this powerful technology for good.
One of the things that really hit me about Schmidt's interview was his sense of urgency. He's not just talking about the future of AI, he's talking about what's happening right now.
Yeah, he's really clear that this revolution is happening now, and we need to be proactive if we want to have a say in how it goes.
He even says that he doesn't think Western democracies are ready for the challenges and opportunities that AI is bringing.
That's a bit of a wake-up call, but it's also a call to action. We need to adapt, we need to change, and we need to start thinking differently about the role of technology in our lives and our societies.
Because this isn't just about machines getting smarter, it's about us being smarter about how we use them.
It's about understanding AI's power, the risks it poses, and the incredible potential it has, and taking responsibility for shaping a future where AI helps us be more human, not less.
Schmidt also talks about superintelligence, the idea of an AI system that surpasses human intelligence in every way.
It's both fascinating and a bit scary, right? What happens when we create something that's smarter than us? How do we control it? How do we make sure it's aligned with our values?
These are questions that science fiction has been asking for years, but now they're becoming real concerns.
And Schmidt doesn't think it's a matter of if, but when this will happen. He thinks it could be within the next 10 years, which isn't that far off.
And he warns that whoever develops superintelligence first will have a huge advantage globally. That's why he's so concerned about China's progress in AI.
He thinks China's more centralized approach could give them an edge in this race for superintelligence, and he worries about a world dominated by a Chinese superintelligence that might not share our values.
It's a pretty disturbing thought, but one we have to take seriously. The stakes are incredibly high.
It reminds us that we need to think about the long-term implications of AI, not just the immediate benefits. We need to ask ourselves what kind of future we want and what role we want AI to play in it.
It's a future full of promise and danger, and it's up to us to decide what it looks like. So as we kind of dig deeper into Schmidt's view on AI, one thing that really jumps out is his focus on education. He thinks it's super important to teach people about AI, not just the tech stuff, but the ethical and societal stuff too.
It's like, giving someone this really powerful tool but no instructions, right? We need to know how to use this tech responsibly, and that means understanding how it could impact things. AI literacy is becoming so important, and not just for tech people, for everyone.
Yeah, I totally agree. AI is going to touch every part of our lives, whether we realize it or not. It's going to change everything, how we work, how we learn, how we connect with each other, even how we see ourselves. We almost need a whole new way of thinking about education, one that prepares people for a world where AI is everywhere.
Right, we need to focus on teaching critical thinking, ethical reasoning, that kind of stuff, and the ability to adapt as technology changes. Those are going to be the key skills for anyone in the age of AI. People need to be able to analyze the good and the bad, the opportunities and the risks, and make smart choices about how AI shapes their lives.
Schmidt also brings up another important point about collaboration in AI. He says we need to work together, share what we know, and combine our resources if we want to develop AI safely and responsibly.
Yeah, it just makes sense. This is a global issue, so we need a global response. We can't just be off in our own corners competing while ignoring all the potential problems.
He specifically talks about more international cooperation on AI development. Imagine if we could create universal standards, share best practices, and work together on the ethical and societal side of AI.
That's a big goal, especially with everything going on in the world right now. But if we want AI to benefit everyone, not just a select few, it's essential. We're all connected, we share this planet, and ultimately, AI's future affects all of us.
That future is being shaped right now with every choice we make, every line of code we write. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. We have this opportunity to guide this technology towards a future we can all be proud of. One where AI helps us be better, not replaces us. A future where AI helps us solve those big problems we face, create a more just world, and, really unlock human potential.
Definitely something worth working for. So I think we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring Eric Schmidt's thoughts on the AI revolution. It's pretty clear that AI is going to be hugely important in shaping the 21st century and probably beyond. The question is, are we ready for it?
Like Schmidt says, it all comes down to education, collaboration, and really committing to using this amazing technology for good. It's a call to action for everyone to learn, get involved, and help steer the direction of AI.
I love that. The future isn't set. It's something we're actively creating, and that's both exciting and a little scary.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of AI Hub. If you found this deep dive as interesting as we did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future episodes. We'll be back soon with more insights, analysis, and thought-provoking discussions on the biggest questions facing us in this age of intelligent machines.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep those AI algorithms running and those human minds thinking.
Welcome to the AI Hub, a podcast for AI-driven side hustles designed for IT professionals like you.
From cutting-edge AI tools to practical, no-nonsense tips, each episode brings you closer to turning tech into income.
Tune in to discover smart and sustainable ways to boost your career and income with AI.